Alright, welcome. This is the recording for the rendering demo, and we're going to go with the thumbnail that was voted on with the most votes in class. So first step here is you want to put it into its own new document, and you're going to be choosing your favorite one from the 8-character thumbnails. So usually I'll increase the size here. We can switch it to percent and then hit 200%, so everything is it's kind of scaled up. We're going to end up with a 4000 by 4000. And now that it's scaled up, it just means that, if we ever decide to shrink it, we'll have slightly more rendered image. Better to work a little larger than what you want, so that you don't pixelate things as you shrink them or scale them up. Okay, and then I just put a background here. Make the background a little lighter, and we can lock it. I'll lock it just so I don't accidentally click on it. And on my other monitor, I'll have the reference images up. So I'll be using mostly my basic O squished here on the left, and my basic O flow. A lot of things that I'll be doing are going to be kind of like a basic blending approach. With if I have a black value here, I can just using that black value, you could just eyedrop and brushstroke, eyedrop and brushstroke. That's the Alt key. So this is the basic blending approach here. Another one that you'll see me do is just lasso in and drop in some flat values. I'll use that with the fill lasso action here. So this is going to be just filling pieces of it with shapes, sometimes planes, like if there's something that's hard angled. So that's the fill lasso. You might also see me stencil out something with a lasso tool, and then brush inside of it with one of the brushes, just so I can kind of be in this kind of contained inside shape. And then occasionally you'll see me brush a little bit and maybe use my smudge tool, which I'll be trying to keep from using too much. But it could be a nice way to kind of turn hard edges into softer ones just by brushing over it. This is the Blend Nice. So that is basic O brush and the Blend Nice in the smudge tools down here. It's really good for, I think, skin and folds or cloth. Alright, and this other one that is not very popular, and I kind of ended up creating it I ended up using it because it felt kind of nice, is if I do lines, or if I do some sort of shadow shape or anything, either one of these, but I'll use my soft translate smudge fire, and I'll use it just to kind of move the pixels around. For organic stuff, it's sometimes kind of nice to be able to just, if I wanted this line to go out further, just to kind of pull it out that way. Even if it gets blurred slightly, that's okay, because usually I'll be refining it some more. But it's nice to just being able to kind of pull your pixels around to shape them into what you need at any point, or transition lines into kind of values like this. So this one is the soft translate smudge. I use this for effects for fire, but also for this. And I think this is probably the one that's, I don't know, I find it really fun, and it kind of keeps things feeling a little loose. So yeah, these are the ones I'll be using here. If I come across any more that I didn't mention, I'll draw them here on the side. Alright, so here we go. So with this value thumbnail, it doesn't have too many things super clearly defined, and a lot of things are in black. So we're just going to put a gray value above it, set that to lighten, just to bring up that black value a little bit. And we can also bring that light value down a little bit, doing a similar approach, just filling it in with a slightly dark gray and setting it to darken. So I use lighten first, and then I use darken, just so I can kind of bring the values down here. This could also be done with adjustment layers, but okay, so yeah, we're gonna start here with the face, and again, there's a lot of opportunities here to kind of just explore things here still, but we got some shapes down here. There's supposed to be a demonic mage Warlock, Tropical Forest with weapon inspiration Flail Spear or magical Medusa-like head, and animal inspiration is Sea Slugs, Eels. Alright, so for this part, I'm gonna start figuring out some stuff here. It's not unusual for me to put things into a giant folder and a mask here, but now I'm just gonna start figuring out what's kind of going on here. This looks like it could be like some sort of collar area. And of course, I'm gonna plot my light source up here just so I know kind of more or less where it is. Typically, you're gonna want yours above your character, either a little bit off center or right above them. And I'll duplicate my base layer here just so that I can kind of merge things down and keep working. Kind of a slightly non-destructive way to work because you can always take your under layers and kind of reapply them on top if there's something that you covered up that you like. And you're also going to see me flipping the canvas several times. Alright, so I'm going to just paint this head part a little bit. I'm thinking of something kind of like wooden with thorns or something kind of sprouting from this head. I like the broken off piece, so I'm going to see what that ends up developing into. But most of the approaches here, I'll just be just doing kind of like the ones that I did on the side at the beginning. So okay, we're going to paint a little bit and then we'll kind of check to see where we took things. Okay, we're gonna pause here and look at what we've done. And so we kind of figured out what was going on the top part. Took a couple attempts at the eyes here. The eyes change so much of what your character kind of conveys. So definitely try to experiment a little bit around when you get to that area. Sometimes you can even take some of your previous versions and kind of overlay them on top of the other ones. Like here, some of these eyes are a little darker. Some of them look a little bit more menacing. Some are smaller, some are larger. Definitely experiment with the eyes, especially. Um, and yeah, so we got the upper torso, the arms starting to kind of get figured out as well. One of the key things I wanted to do with the bottom part is just have these, have this kind of like uh, dress or gown-like tree bark thing that has these breaks in between, which is where the minions can kind of come out from. It's kind of like some sort of haunted tree bark. During this, I've been making some changes to the outside silhouette, and that's just small, minor tweaks. If you zoom out, you probably can't even notice most of the ones that have changed. So most of the time, it's just adding more to things. Cool. All right, so we're gonna continue to render out the rest of this. Okay, that'd be a good time to pause again. Alright, so we've kind of resolved what was happening down there. At the beginning, we made a whole bunch of different shapes just to see if there was some that kind of work. I like the middle one the most, and then I just tried to create some shapes that were similar to that one on the side. But I still wanted them to each kind of have their own unique look. These kind of magical runes that maybe power power this this mage in some way. Cool. And also we kind of had a lot already stuff happening down here, so we kind of simplified it in that sense. We kind of removed some of the shapes because there's a lot of elements happening down here already, like the legs, for example. Now at this stage, I can drop in maybe some stuff in the background, like in a dark gray, just to kind of imply there's maybe other folds happening back there, like on the farther side. That will kind of help to give it some depth. And with this farther back stuff, you can sometimes make it darker, as it is underneath. It's not catching a lot of light. Sometimes lighter also helps because it's like atmosphere and you're saying that it's farther back. In this case, I'm going to go darker here. And in case you're ever worried about, maybe changing it later on, maybe we add a couple over here on this side. I think having too many on that side is going to make it look crowded, so I'm going to just avoid that part. But if we leave it on its own layer, then it's something that we can also change later on. But if we made them kind of wider, or even kind of just pull them up a little bit more. Alright, so we're gonna kind of finish up the arm here. Maybe also give it the shape of the face and eyes another attempt. And then also this other arm over here on the right. The feet, I won't spend that much time. I kind of figured out what I wanted to do here, like maybe some sort of like petals coming off of the spine part here. And the torso, I'm sorry, the shoulder has a bunch of kind of cool shapes. It even has this floating piece here. Not exactly sure what this is going to be, but I think having some sort of effects in this area would be kind of cool. Like maybe from this shoulder, there's like kind of spores flying out, or maybe it's coming out from underneath this thing. So there's probably some cool ideas there. We don't know what this thing does yet, but it's got like a cool, interesting shape. So giving it a cool idea later on would be probably a good idea. And we have the dagger here, kind of held in the elbow. And over here we have just a different shaped arm, maybe some sort of foldable, retractable, I don't know, dangerous blade or something on the arm. Alright, we're gonna render out these. Okay, we're gonna pause here. I'm gonna shade some of the farther elements away from the light source a little darker. And that's just going to hopefully reinforce the light source here. So top right is going to stay bright, and then I'm just going to paint softly, maybe even make the brush a little softer. This on a separate layer, and then just kind of faintly brush into the shadow parts. I want to see what this looks like. I'm going to just go and flatten this. So this is what we've been shading here. And it's just to kind of reinforce the light sources up above us. So things farther away from it are just going to darken. With the same approach, you can also do some of the shading here. Like for example, I was using this layer also to add more shading under here. That's also an approach that I'll do sometimes when I'm doing shading. Is I'll make a layer just for the shadows and apply that. So let's see, this is adding a little bit more shading. So we're just going to merge this part down. We'll keep it back up here. Just going to merge it down, and yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. There's not too much left that I would like to do here, except maybe attempt the face a couple more times, just to see what we can get out of that. So I had a thought here with the face to kind of make the horn a little bit more attached, since we have one broken one already, and that will kind of make this area feel less less chaotic. Also, one of the horns is larger, and we haven't really put a lot of rendering or detail on it yet. As far as materials go, we also haven't really placed anything on here yet. That feels like a metal. Also, right now I'm trying to see if a gradient up here would look kind of nice, in that it will allow us to better see the head of the of the of the design, because it separates like where the face is to the collar area. And it just kind of adds more contrast, especially next to the really, really bright eye. So yeah, I think that works. I'm going to merge it down here. And for the horn here, I think what would be kind of cool is if we add a little bit more complexity to its overall shape by having some parts come out. And I kept a backup of this before the changes, so we can kind of see what it looks like, but mostly in case the changes that I make are something that I find ends up not working very well. Also, I'm curious to see what would happen if we kind of move the other horn even farther away, so I have even more space out there and doesn't feel too clustered together. Yeah, I think that would kind of create some cool opportunity to have maybe even like little small pieces floating in here. We didn't add these because there wasn't space in between, but yeah, it would be kind of interesting if this part of the face is just broken. And these small little shapes probably won't matter, it's mostly this big one here. But I think it would be kind of a cool, like, hovering kind of like effect. Alright, now we'll attempt the face again on a different layer. Kind of what I'm trying to do here is experiment, see what things can we do with shapes that we haven't tried yet. Like maybe making some more adjustments here. Yeah, I think this feels a little bit better. There's kind of less hard angled shapes up here, and I think that contrasts the hard angles that we have over here. I kind of like the S-curve being right here in the middle. I think one of the iterations I tried like a scar. I think it might be cool, but I think a scar is one of those things that might be a little bit too expected for like a villain character. But maybe just a slight crack in the eye here. I think there's already one above, which might be fine. And earlier I was playing around with having that one be in like a another eyeball up there. When I feel like I have too many lines in there, I kind of try to blur them out because they could easily kind of get a little too distracting here. And I've been doing this thing with this specific one where the thorns are kind of darker, but then they get lighter towards the end. So I think I'll do that for this one here, just so it kind of has the same thing. Also just adds more contrast to the head area, and also with this little rim light that we have up here, or the way that the light's hitting this. Alright, I think that's pretty good. Just gonna add some sort of plant-like pattern here. I notice a lot of stripes and little kind of marks. I didn't want to do too much of these because it would kind of take away from the shapes. But just a couple of these, and then I'll typically lower their brightness. Or even set them to lighten here. Yeah, I think that works. That gives a little bit more vision for me. I think I'm gonna lean more towards kind of sharper pattern shapes up here. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so we're gonna merge it now. Merge all these changes. Kind of like the eye when it had less stuff on it, so maybe we'll shrink some of this down. This is another reason why I kind of kept that backup layer. It's just from a distance it looks like we kind of just added a little bit too much, and we can just erase those areas where it feels like it's too much. Alright, that I'm okay with. Alright, and that's it. I'll make a second one where I'm applying some rough colors here. And this assignment only need to have grayscales in it. I think I probably went past rendered a little bit, or at least what I think I would call rendered. So yeah, so just pretty much everything got some sort of form treatment and kind of described a little bit more about what it's what it is that's kind of in those areas. Yeah, hope you check out the video that I'm about to do next with the glows and those elements. And then just kind of recap some of the stuff that we did. Let's go back over here. So a lot of it was just kind of brushing in with the brush, right? You know, just adding in parts in here. And then there was also some where we just lassoed in some shapes and dropped it in. That was this one here. Next one, that was the stencil one. I don't really find myself using that one too much, but the stencil also kind of works with the smudge one down here. But yeah, the stencil one, I think I might use it only a couple times with maybe the spikes. But what I like to do is, like, if we have a shoulder here and I already like what's happening value-wise on the inside, then we use a soft translate smudge tool to kind of pull those things out. And so it keeps you from needing to paint that part in there, because you're just kind of like stretching the pixels out to fill the lasso tool. Alright, so we did use the stencil and the brushing a little bit. This could be really helpful for, like, you know, if you have like a tube-like form and you want to just kind of brush on the left and the right. We might have done something like that with the arm here. And then the blend nice was just, you know, put a brush stroke down, and then with the blend nice, just brush over on one side to smoothen it out. And the last one, the soft translate smudge, that's the one where we were just pulling stuff with our soft translate smudge. It works really well with the lasso tool, but yeah, that's it. We did that a bunch here when we were like adding the petals in here. For example, you make a shape and then you soft translate smudge, pull that up here. Alright, I'll stop the recording here.